What's going on? I cannot believe it is already week 13 of the NFL. What's going on, new guy? I'm the Degenerate 75. I'm a high-limit DFS player who focuses on two sports, just football and golf. That's all I got time for. Today we're going to be talking NFL. This is the Touchdown Hoedown, where I'm going to give you all the quick breakdowns, all the news that you need to make decisions for the slate tomorrow. But remember, I'm not going to give you a single fucking pick. If you want picks, go check out a tout site. I don't do picks. If you can't make your own lineups, you'll always be a loser at DFS. If you like the cut of my jib, I encourage you to hang around. Maybe come check out the schedule. The big guy stays busy. But without further ado, let's get going. First thing we talk about is contest selection. If you don't know, you need to know. Contest selection is where it all begins. This is where you're pissing away your money. I will tell you this until I am blue in the face. If you go play in this big contest tomorrow, you may play in it if you max enter it. 150 lineups, I'll leave you alone. If not, you're a moron and you need to be kicked in the nuts 3 times. That's all you deserve for Christmas because you're pissing away your money. So please stop doing that, okay? If you want to go toss your 10 lineups, 5 lineups in that, and you want to pay $100, go play in some $50 single entries, some $27 single entries. Go play in the $33 5 max. It's just such a better tournament. Look, only 12.5% of the money goes to first. Look at 10th place. 1/16th to first. Not perfect, but pretty good. Way better than that freaking lottery that's the millionaire maker. That's why you're depositing every week. Please quit doing that. And honestly, what you really need to start experimenting with is looking head-to-heads. Go start making a really good cash lineup every week, throwing it in head-to-heads, and then kind of just look for people who suck at it. This is what we do at college football at Cash, and it's been going well. So I'm telling you, check that out. Make your bankroll sustainable. Make GPPs that thing you do to every once in a while hit a big one, but not a lottery. You're not trying to win $1 million. You're trying to win, $5,000 would be incredible. You know you'll be in the streets dancing naked if you hit $5,000. So do that, you motherfather. If you don't know, I have my own contest. It's completely free. No strings attached, no email. It's right in the description of this. First place gets a free Millionaire Maker ticket that you get to make with me, and we will go chase $1 million together, and I pay for it, so you don't got to worry about it being a bad investment because I'm the one blowing the money. So go hop in that. Second place gets a free month on the Discord. By the way, while you're here, you can't help but notice no ads. New guy. Why don't you go drop me a like and a sub? Blasted past 2,000 last week. We're already pushing to 2,100, you motherfather. I'd appreciate it. But let's get going where we should always start. This time of year, you have to look at weather when it comes to NFL games. Because if you don't know, it is an empirical fact that rain, snow, and wind can affect scoring, DFS scoring, anywhere from 3 to 5%. And that's quite a few. That's quite, if you're talking 200 points, that's like 6 to 10 points. That's quite a few DFS points. So some things to be monitoring. It looks like there might be some rain up in San Francisco for the 49ers versus the Dolphins, but everywhere else, they're either in a dome or it's going to be relatively clear. The cold isn't something that really concerns me, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. But it is worth noting that if it is going to get rainy up there, I'm sure the Dolphins are used to playing in the rain, but maybe old slapdick Jimmy Garoppolo will be a turnover monster. It's in his DNA. He's a slappy. I don't care how good he played in primetime a couple weeks ago. All right, we'll be looking at the slate. We're going to go through these, and we're going to be using Run the Sims. If you want, it's not too late. Go check them out for a week. Use my code DGen75. It's the best tool-assisted site out there. The first takeaway I look at is on this entire 12-game main slate tomorrow. We're looking at the DraftKings main slate tomorrow. You see that there's not a single player that's showing up in the optimals more than 20% of the time. That's got to be the first time all year I've seen that. So there's no obvious free square play this week or mega chalk play, right? Matter of fact, the highest projected on guy, according to Run the Sims right now, is just a mere 24%. So really this is a week to kind of not have to be well, do I fade the 36% on Justin Fields or not, right? The 65% on Tony Pollard. You don't have to make that decision this week. So this week is much more about finding the stacks you like, finding the correlated plays you like, having your lineups tell a story, right? I think this game and this game are really going to shoot out. And so I'm going to really attack players from this game. Or everybody wants to play, everybody wants to go play a Joe Burrow stack, so I'm just going to go play a Joe Mixon stack and hopefully counterfeit that. So not only is my guy doing well, but I'm counterfeiting that one. It's a great week to make those plays. Think about how your guys benefit your lineup, but also how they negatively affect the field. And when you do that, you can really gain some true leverage in GPPs. So now that we've talked about the general ownership and we've talked about a little bit of game theory, let's just talk about some of the plays. The first game, probably the most appetizing game on the early part of the slate, is Jacksonville versus Detroit. If you don't know, they're on the track meet. That's just what we're going to call Detroit's field. It seems like every time a shootout game has been played this year has been played at Detroit. Jacksonville is just always my favorite team to stack because I feel like they have the tools to be a great stackable team. Trevor Lawrence can make every throw. He has very capable receivers with Zay Jones, Christian Kirk. Hell, even Marvin Jones still has a little bit left in the tank. Evan Ingram. ETN catches out of the backfield. A very, very stackable team. And they're going to be playing against a team that will probably score some points on them. So they're going to be pushed. They're going to be forced to move the ball. This is a very stackable game for Jacksonville. I will tell you, Trevor Lawrence is going to be chalky. It would not surprise me if he is the highest owned quarterback in this entire slate, which is kind of crazy because Trevor Lawrence, he just isn't that efficient when it comes to DFS. As a guy who has played far too many T. Lawrence stacks this year, I can tell you. So be aware of that. If you like a Trevor Lawrence stack, just know you're not the only one that's going to think that way. Maybe the play is you come in, you get Travis Etienne, and just hope he gets all the usage, and our boy Trevor Lawrence is left out in the sticks. But I think the real tricky play, if you want to get in here, is go look at a Jared Goff stack, right? Jared Goff, you want to stack him with Amon-Ra St. Brown. You also have you can always stack him with DeAndre Swift, assuming the Lions ever pull their head out of their ass and play their best player. Wouldn't hold my breath on that. Even DJ Chark is viable, and Jamal Williams. I don't love Goff and Williams. I don't think they play real nicely together. But if Denver's going to score or Detroit's going to score 35 points, it won't matter. So this is a very stackable game. But if this is going to be the chalky game of the early part of the slate, I might just fade it and go elsewhere because I think there's some other games that could sneaky shoot out. One of those games is this one, the Texans at Cleveland, or Cleveland at the Texans even. So first of all, this game has a pretty decent total. 46.5 is no slump total. And Cleveland actually has a pretty functional offense. Nick Chubb is just due for his random 35-point burger. And if he's going to be under 10% against Houston, seems like a pretty good spot to pay up there. But you could also go with the Deshaun Watson stack. You want to play it. You want to assume he's going to be as good as he was and there's not going to be any rust. He's just anxious to get back out there and prove everybody wrong that he's not a horrible person or whatever the fuck narrative you want to play. But I do think if Deshaun Watson, I think even if he's rusty, he's still probably better than Jacoby Brissett. And Jacoby Brissett has actually been a functional enough quarterback to get people like Amari Cooper, Harris Bryant, DPJ, Donovan Peoples-Jones there. So, I think there's worse things you could do than a Deshaun Watson stack. And the best part is Houston has very affordable run backs, right? There is a way that Houston could push them in this game. If Dameon Pierce goes off, Nico Collins, there are guys that could push the pace of this game, and they're very, very affordable. So you could run a very affordable stack, a stack that won't be very popular, and then now you have a lot of money for your peripheral pieces in that lineup. Just something to consider. As far as the Houston side goes, I am definitely staying away from any Houston stacks. At best, I like them as run backs for a Deshaun Watson stack. Just my opinion, Bob. Here's the problem with this game. Denver fucking sucks. That's the problem with Baltimore-Denver game, is it's just going to be so hard for them to get pushed. We're not even quite sure what Cortland Sutton's status is. He did not practice Friday, and in the NFL, when they don't practice Friday, they usually don't play on Sundays, so you got to watch that. It is just an illness. It's not a physical thing. Well, I mean, I guess an upset stomach is a physical thing, but you know what I mean. It's not a turned ankle. And there's even some, I guess there's still hope that maybe even Judy will play, but for me, for Denver, it's basically like Greg Dulcich is really the only one I'm even considering. He's just running a lot of routes. He has a very high ADOT for a tight end, average depth of targets. So I like that. But for Baltimore, I think that Lamar stack at 7,800, I just don't think they're going to get pushed enough. I think that Baltimore scores 21 points in this game, and Lamar just doesn't have the ceiling type game you need to pay off a $7,800 price tag. As always, if you're going to stack him, you always start stacking with Mark Andrews, and then you have a couple cheap options with DeMarcus Robbins and Duvernay. But really, maybe the play is just sneak in here and grab a sneaky Gus Edwards that no one's going to think of. Have your cheap running back. Hope he gets 2 touchdowns and his 80 yards and maybe 3 catches. You're dancing in the streets naked. Just something to consider, right? That would probably be the sneakiest play in this game. And at 5,400, we all know DraftKings doesn't give us any free squares, so you got to consider playing that one. Moving over to Washington and the Giants, these are two teams that actually have solid defenses, which is not something I thought I would say. As you can tell by the 40-point total, there's not a lot of points to be expected to be scored in this game. If you're going to force me to play somebody, I guess Antonio Gibson, but we do have to watch that he was limited in practice Friday, so we're going to have to watch his status. If he is out, I think that does catapult Brian Robinson up into a very good play, but we're not going to get anything on that until inactives come out 90 minutes before kickoff tomorrow, so we'll have to watch that. I keep wanting to believe that a Taylor Heineke stack is going to get there. It never does, and it's definitely not going to get there against the Giants, in my opinion. Saquon is always a home run hitter, and generally speaking, when ownership is below 5% on Saquon, I'm interested, and right now I'm showing between 3 and 5%, so he might be that one guy that goes off. But then I ask myself, if I'm going to pay $8,000 for a running back, wouldn't I rather just go play Chubb against the freaking Texans? And so that's the conundrum I'm running into, and there's no way you can play them both in the same lineup. You just can't afford two $8,000 running backs on this slate. So that's where I'm left. I really sometimes I always want to talk myself into a Daniel Jones stack, but he's just the most unstackable quarterback in the NFL because he never has consistent receivers. We never know what's going to happen. I guess Richie James is going to play, and that would probably be about the only viable guy you could really consider stacking him with now that Wandell's out. And Slayton is just a mystery man. So that game doesn't interest me that much, but there are some pieces, especially if we get news that Gibson's out. Moving over to Green Bay and Chicago. What happened to our boy Justin Fields? He went from being everybody's favorite to now he's the worst play ever. 3%? The guy can still run, right? He can still make chunks some bombs. I think this game has sneaky shootout potential. I think that if Chicago can score some points, Green Bay has enough of an offense to bring it back. So you can still run. I can't believe I'm the one trying to talk people into a Justin Fields stack. What the fuck is going on around here? But if you do, you've got Claypool to stack him with. You've got Kmet to stack him with. Hell, I think you could probably even get away with stacking him with David Montgomery. And then the best part is you have really good run back options. It appears as though A.J. Dillon may be out this week or severely limited, and so that dramatically increases the value of Aaron Jones if that's the case. And then Lazard and Christian Watson are also great run back options. I would probably prefer a wide receiver run back with him and just hope that this game boat races. That's what I would hope. So, too bad this isn't college football because I would say run it back with Aaron Rodgers, the old 2-quarterback system, but they don't do that here in the NFL, do they? Moving over, two really good teams here. I'm surprised that this game hasn't gotten more steam. A Jalen Hurts stack is always awesome because Jalen Hurts is just really good, right? And he's the perfect his usage is so concentrated, right? He's throwing the ball to Devontae. He's throwing it to A.J. Brown. That's about it. Really, the only way Jalen Hurts doesn't get there tomorrow is if Miles Sanders just keeps vulturing him, right? I think that the Eagles probably score 28 points tomorrow. Jalen Hurts probably gets 25 to 30, and then you just got to pick which is the correct receiver to stack him with. And then there's some viable run back options from Tennessee. I'm telling you, Treylon Burks is going to have a breakout game soon. It is going to happen. Robert Woods is on the field like almost every play. He is a viable run back. And of course, there's always the big guy, Derrick Henry. Problem is, you start stacking Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, and Derrick Henry, you better have some punch you really like because you just spent all your money on that stack, you motherfather. But when there's good teams seem to get into shootouts more than bad teams. That's anecdotal evidence, but it's mine, brother. So I will be looking at this. If you play a Ryan Tannehill stack, you go close a door on your finger, on your thumb preferably. All right, Pittsburgh, Atlanta. Let's check this one out. I want to believe in the Steelers. We've got some news that it looks like Jaylen Warren's going to be back. Najee Harris is going to play. He's going to be active. But with Jaylen Warren back, we've already seen him start to take some of that role. And I just think Najee Harris sucks, which is crazy because a year ago I thought he was really good. But he's not, especially in this offense. So I feel like they're kind of off the board. If I'm playing any Steelers, I guess I could try to talk myself into a really gross Kenny Pickett stack. You got to remember, at the end of the day, he is playing the Falcons, right? And the Falcons are the Falcons. And the Falcons suck, so there is hope, right? And if you do a Kenny Pickett stack, the nice thing is it's very affordable, but the other nice thing is he has very affordable run back options with Drake London and Cordell Patterson, right? So those are really good options. He's stackable too because Freiermuth, Deontay Johnson, and George Pickens are about the only three viable targets he throws to. So if you really want to go, if you're playing in something with 20,000 or more entrants tomorrow and you want to get a really filthy stack, consider this Kenny Pickett stack. I mean, there are worse ones out there. Mariota stack stack, I don't like as much because basically if you do, you got to run a skinny stack with probably just Drake London because Marcus Mariota just doesn't have enough passing volume to get 2 wide receivers there. I guess you could mix in Cordero Patterson because he's kind of like a 1.5 receiver, seeing he runs it and receives it. But, this game is in Atlanta, and if you don't know, games in the Dome. It's a track meet, so it's a game that no one will consider. But at 42.5 points, it's not like we're talking 38 here. They are assuming there's going to be a couple points scored in this game, even with putrid offenses. Minnesota and the Jets, well, Garrett Wilson, the nuts. He's always the nuts. At least they priced him up. At least now you got to pay $5,000 to get Garrett Wilson, right? He's at $5,300. Still too cheap for how good he is. Very reasonable salary for the talent that he has. Justin Jefferson is, like a Justin Jefferson, Garrett Wilson correlation playing this game makes a lot of sense. Or even a Dalvin Cook and Garrett Wilson. You don't want to play a full stack. This is a great game to come in here and get a little correlation from each side of the ball. I think it makes a lot of sense. With Cook and Jefferson, I don't think both of them will go off, but one of them can definitely go off. If you're a real sicko, a Kirk Cousins stack's not the worst thing in the world because you know that almost all of his volume is going to go to Jefferson, Thielen, and Hawkinson. You know that, right? You just got to hope Dalvin Cook doesn't have a monster game, and that probably gets there. And then you run into the issue of, are the Jets, can Mike White and the Jets actually push the Vikings? I will say the Jets offense has looked much more functional with Mike White as the quarterback. If you think they can push him, a Kirk Cousins stack is probably the highest upside stack you could have, that you're not just like praying, right? You're not just like wishing to a well, right? So that's one to consider. That's the early games. Now, here's the afternoon games. And what you need to know about the afternoon games is there's 2 that are going to be pretty chalky, and I think 2 that are going to be pretty under-owned. All right, why does this matter? Well, this matters because if you are struggling in the early part of the day, you can pivot to some lesser-owned stacks in the afternoon or lesser-owned pieces in the afternoon. If you were killing it, you played some one-off pieces or some correlated pieces in the early, and they're doing well. Now you come play these chalky stacks in the afternoon, right? It gives us a lot of freedom. The 2 of the 3 highest total games are in the afternoon, which is nice. And I think this Miami-San Francisco game, especially if the weather doesn't come through, I think it probably should be closer to a 50-point total than the 46.5 that it's at. So let's start by talking there. These are 2 teams that have actually shown to have very, very functional offenses. Miami's been showing it all year, and then San Francisco has been showing it since Christian McCaffrey's got there. The problem is with the 49ers, I keep saying this every week, they just have too many mouths to feed between McCaffrey, Debo, Ayuk, Kittle. That's a lot of big stars that have to eat, right? And the good news is almost certainly one of them will have a monster game tomorrow. Who's it going to be, Bob? Yeah, I don't know either. It's tough, right? So you're going to have to do a lot of gambling. On the flip side of that, Miami stacks have been the nuts all year, but it is getting very expensive with Tyreek up to 88, Waddle up to 74, and Tua at 67. It is not a very cheap stack, right? And then if you're going to run that stack, you certainly have to have a 49ers run back, and none of the 49er run back pieces are cheap, right? McCaffrey, Debo, Ayuk, and Kittle are all relatively expensive relative to their position. So, and I'm never running a Jimmy Garoppolo stack. I mean, I guess, honestly, if I was ever going to run a Jimmy Garoppolo stack, this would be the one week it makes sense. Good luck picking the right pieces, you motherfather. I will say, Christian McCaffrey, probably, if this would be the first week all year I've been interested in playing him. There has been some, Elijah Mitchell is banged up for the 49ers, so Christian McCaffrey probably going to see even more workload out of the backfield. Something to consider. The Rams are just horrific. You know what I'm going to say about the Rams? I think you should consider Higbee, maybe Van Jefferson, and that's about it. That's really about all you should really consider from them, right? And that's really only as run back options if you're doing some weird Geno stack. The only problem with the Geno stack here is this game is on the road. This game is against a good defense and against a team that's going to play slow. This is not a great environment for a stack, especially if you're going to double stack him with Metcalf and Lockett. So, that's viable. To me, I think I'd rather just take some Kenneth Walker and just watch him pound it 25 times while they're up the whole game. Kansas City, Cincinnati is the biggest spread on the slate. It is a very viable game, but here's the problem. There's so many weapons in this game, and they're all very fairly priced. Burrow and Mahomes are both very fairly priced, but all their main targets, Higgins, Jamar Chase, Kelsey, even Juju, they're all priced very fairly. So if you want to stack in this game, and then you want to have a decent run back from the other team, which in my opinion, if you're going to play this game, you've got to run a stack with a run back. That's just what I think. You're going to end up spending almost all your money here, right? There's just not a lot of great punt options in this game. I think Tyler Boyd at 5,300 is not really playable now that Jamar Chase is going to be back, right? If you want to try to guess the Kansas City running back situation with Pacheco and McKinnon, you go right on ahead. But there's too many good running back options for me to punt there. If you think Valdez-Scantling's going to have one of his good games all year, you go right on ahead, Bob. But for me, these pieces are just too priced. It's going to be too chalky. And this is just a game I'm willing to stay away from because the pieces are so expensive that they're going to have to really, really perform to pay off that massive stack and run back. The last one, the Chargers and the Raiders, it is in Las Vegas. And if you don't know, that's a dome, and we all love a good dome. So you've got it. You can always run the Justin Herbert stack. Keenan Allen was back last week, looked very good. Probably, I still think is underpriced at $6,500 this week. Gerald Everett, $4,400 is overpriced, but I still think he's a very viable option. And then you just try to pick, is it going to be a Palmer or a Carter week? Because Mike Williams is still out. The big news to watch here is Josh Jacobs going to be out. Josh Jacobs is currently limited Friday, so if he's out, that makes Amir Abdullah probably the free square for a lot of people. They're going to play him. I'm not sure that I absolutely love him because I just don't think he's a one-for-one replacement with Josh Jacobs. If Josh Jacobs is out, I actually really like a Derek Carr stack, right? Because I feel like they're going to go more to the passing game, and you're not going to have Josh Jacobs getting 8 catches out of the backfield again. So a Derek Carr stack is probably where I'm going to pivot if I start to get word that our boy Josh Jacobs is going to be out. Whereas I think most people are going to move to a Amir Abdullah play. And to me, that's just another one of those ways of how I can kind of be, if my guys are doing well, it's not just that my guys are doing well, it'll probably be at the expense of other people's lineups because people aren't going to be playing that Carr stack. As I already told you on the flip side, I'm open to a Justin Herbert stack. But if I had to play one side, I would probably play the Raiders side of it, especially if Josh Jacobs is out. All right, that is a quick breakdown of everything. That is your injury news. We went over the games to play. We talked about a little bit of strategy. If you want to know, I do a Discord. I have a Discord that's connected through my Patreon where I make a thing called the Rosetta Stone Forum, which I should have up, but I don't. And I give that to them. And we do the stream a full hour answering all their questions tomorrow before it. So if you're interested in that, go check it out in the details, you motherfather. Also, did you know 2 weeks ago I was on this badass podcast right here with Neil Orfield called High Stakes? Go check it out. Very good interview that he did. I enjoyed being on there, and I think you should go give it a listen. And lastly, go give me a follow on Twitter. If you don't know, we're almost to 3,500. And I will, if you ever need to reach out to me, feel free to shoot me a DM. I will not blow you off. I don't take myself too serious like so many assholes in this industry. I hope you've enjoyed this show. I hope you have some good ideas tomorrow. I hope that you get some green screens, and I hope that you share them with me when you do. But most of all, motherfather, I hope you enjoy my outro.